And welcome to another dual episode of Entrepreneur Rescue Mission and Networking and Marketing Made Simple. I am here with my beautiful co-host and wife and business partner, Nancy.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. So we have an interesting topic to dive into today, much like you guys have been listening to, and we've been getting actually some really great feedback from everyone on they are really enjoying the dual episodes of kind of Nancy and I bantering back and forth and sharing our points of view. And just before we dive into today's topic, just to let everybody know, we do have another great workshop coming up at the end of September. It's from September 25th to the 29th. It's one of our staple workshops called the Personal Branding Blueprint. It is a 5-day long intensive. It's an hour each day, 1 to 2 p.m. EDT, live and recorded Monday through Friday. And again, we're going to teach everyone how to build their personal brands on social media. So there's a lot that we're going to be going into in that. Obviously, there's a workbook, there's prizes, giveaways. The replays are available until that Monday, October 2nd. And just be on the lookout for those links coming soon. But also, we've talked about this before. If you didn't know, Nancy and I do have a hybrid group coaching mastermind called Expert Authority, where it's very unique in the sense that, yes, it's a mastermind with an up-leveled community. Yes, there's group coaching, but there's also one-on-one coaching with myself and Nancy, which makes it very, very unique. And we do only take 10 people at a time. And we currently only have 5 spots available. Five have already been spoken for, paid for, and taken, which we're very grateful for. So in the description of this episode, you will find a link to find out more about Expert Authority and what it's all about, and even booking a call with myself and Nancy to learn more about it. Okay, so on to today's topic, which is what we're calling the hidden realities. What is really happening behind the scenes of entrepreneurship? Now, we've talked about this before, both Nancy and I together, but also separately. The mirage of social media, the highlight reel of social media, the realities of what people think is going on to what actually is going on. And I've quantified this by saying that there's a lot of people that are on the hot mess express behind closed doors, and you would never know because they're not sharing those things. There's this mirage of entrepreneurship where people really have to always put their best foot forward to show how successful they are. And Nancy and I just want to keep it raw and real, as we always like to do, because we know there's a lot of people that are maybe falling for some of these marketing tactics and tricks that people are putting out there, and are making investments they shouldn't be making. They're spending time on things they shouldn't be spending on. And we just wanted to kind of keep it real with what's doing. So Nance, let's dive in. So obviously we can talk about what spurred this conversation, but let's dive into some of the really big things that are happening behind the scenes of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I'm sure many of you have been scrolling the internet and, I think all of our news feeds look a little different based on what we typically follow and engage with. But, there's lots of glossy portrayals of this, amazing, business and, lots of bells and whistles. And, a lot of people are saying, oh my goodness, well, why doesn't my business look like that? Or, whatever. Well, here's the thing. Okay. Are there amazing businesses out there? Absolutely. Right. There are amazing businesses that have grown and done really massive and wonderful things. But in our profession and getting to do what we do, we get to see a lot of behind the scenes. We get to work with a lot of people. We get to network with a lot of people. And the reality behind the scenes, quite honestly, is not what you're seeing on the forefront, right? Again, when you see posts on Instagram, right? People flying in jets and posting pictures on boats and, taking pictures of, their huge giant offices. Again, I want you guys to think about this. And I want you to actually acknowledge that, a lot of what you're seeing isn't the whole picture, right? And a lot of times you're seeing a lot of the fluff and not really the real. And again, I do know, right, there's lots of successful businesses, and hats off to, those who are really working hard. But I'm going to be honest with you, the majority of people that I know who are really, really successful do not even share their businesses in that way. They're more modest or kind of humble in the way that they approach things. And they don't feel the need to kind of showboat and put those things out there.
Well,
Scott?
the other thing I want to chime in with, and for a lot of people that don't know that or know this, that anytime you've seen maybe some of those pictures of people on the private jets. So there are some people that are actually on a private jet, but there are actually local studios in not even in Hollywood, all around the area, where companies have recreated the inside capsule of the cabin of a private jet, and you can rent it out, and you could take pictures to give the illusion that you're on a private jet. And even standing in front of one, people actually, you can just stand in front of a private jet, take a picture. So that's besides the point. The fact of the matter is that, Nancy and I are always taking the stance of leading with value and, really not making it about us. And I think that's one of the things that we see a lot of entrepreneurs doing, coaches, consultants, agents. They're really just kind of peacocking and just making it about themselves and their success. And yeah, Nance?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I mean, just to, kind of finish what I was getting to before is, a lot of people are putting a lot of this stuff out there, but the fact of the matter is a lot of businesses, are given the direction to spend tons of money in marketing and high priced, working with influencers and different things like that. And again, part of that reality is also, they're not really making that much money behind the scenes, right? Not much money's coming in, a lot is going out. So the whole thing, and this is really what got Scott and I talking, because again, right, let me reiterate, there are businesses that are doing really well, right? And some people who are on there in the mix that are actually doing great. And that is so wonderful. We are hats off to them. But the fact of the matter is the majority of businesses and the majority of entrepreneurs are not hitting their numbers. They're not actually profitable. So the thing is what you're seeing on the surface is not always true. Whenever you see behind the scenes, a lot of the financials aren't adding up. And, Scott and I were actually part of a program quite a few years ago that they really pushed people to hire, expensive marketing firms and to hire a massive amount of team members quickly. Okay. And what happens with this, and again, this is part of what we were talking about the other day, is when you hire people too rapidly and you don't give them clear direction, right? There's no foundations, there's no expectations. There's also not enough money to pay these people. It becomes a little bit of a circus, and it becomes a little bit crazy, not a little bit, a lot of it. And it becomes this wild roller coaster. And honestly, a lot of people in that kind of realm or phase of business ended up having to let go of that entire team that they had just hired, 6 months prior.
Well, I think to your point, it's really understanding profit margins. And something that Nancy and I always talk about is, yeah, people may say, hey, I have a 7-figure business, right? So the business as an entity may be grossing $1 million in sales. But when you back out, as Nancy said, all the team that you have to pay, all the Facebook ad campaigns, what are they really netting at the end of the year? So we know, like, for certain, like, we know that there's these 7-figure businesses that are only running at about a 25% profit margin, which means for every $1 million they make, they only gross $250,000, which again, that's nothing to sneeze at, but there's a difference between running a business that is actually grossing $1 million than netting $1 million. Because I think, but also, Nance, I mean, we've talked about it before, that there's a lot of people that say, oh, I have $1 million company. But that means they maybe cumulatively over the last 5 or 6 years have all totaled $1 million in revenue, which again, that's a cumulative $1 million business. It's not a year to date, so to speak, $1 million business.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing and the point that we're kind of getting out here is, you don't have to hire all these fancy marketing companies. You don't have to pay for all these crazy softwares. You don't have to rapidly grow and throw money at hiring huge teams when number one, you're not ready for it. And number two, in order to have a successful business. Okay. So something that Scott and I are extremely passionate about, and this is kind of something that we realized a few years ago when we started growing our own business, as we started ramping things up and as we started growing, we stopped taking the advice of having to pay for this huge expensive next thing, right? So for example, we hired a marketing agency that said, oh, you need this, $1,000 CRM, and you need to do this and you need to do that. It didn't make sense for where we were at in business. And the way that I work, I really like to be strategic, right? A little Six Sigma, I like to make sure that we're strategically spending money in the right way. A lot of people know me. In fact, I got coined the term the Mary Poppins of marketing, because I can just pull something, out of whatever. And the fact of the matter, it's not me just being, finding a free way to run your business. It's finding an efficient and a way that you can run your business at a much higher margin, so that you're bringing in more money, you're spending less, and you're running your business just the same as if you could, if you were shelling out tons and tons of money. To Scott's point again, going back to that mastermind that we were part of, we looked around, and again, behind the scenes, a lot of these companies, yes, it was like they were hitting, $1 million numbers and things like that. But the reality is they were almost spending every little penny that was coming in. Okay. So the thing that I want you guys to think about is the benefits of actually growing your business in the way that you want. Right. I'm a huge advocate. And those who know me, my history, I wanted to quit working in the corporate world. I wanted to quit, having to lead and manage tons of people. Like, I just wanted ease, right? I wanted a business that I could grow, that I could have the flexibility to work with who I wanted, that I could, hire as many team members or as little team members as I wanted, and then work as many days a week as I wanted. Even Scott, as we were building our business, it's like, I did not quit this thing to jump right into another crazy mess, and do that day to day. So I wanted to run a business that really filled me up and gave me joy and happiness. So that's what we actually help other people do. And we call it kind of the small and mighty business approach. And small and mighty does not mean little tiny, not a lot of money. It means you're running a much more profitable, higher margin business with a smaller team, right? You don't have to have hundreds of team members. You can literally have a core group of team members that support all the things that you need to do. And you can literally set any monetary goal with this structure, and you can grow it in the way that you want. And so we really started doing this a few years ago. We started, like Scott said, our mastermind, where we help other people do this. We've come up with a very simple framework, right? I always tell Scott, it's like the Mark Twain quote, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Growing a business and the business basics, it's all the same, right? Whether it's a small business or a large business, right? You've got to have the structure, you got to have the systems. If you decide that you only want to work 3 days a week, which is what we do, and you want to earn enough money reoccurring so that you can cover all expenses, and then have plenty of money over top of that to invest in other things, buy beach houses, live a wonderful life, you can do that. Right. And it's not that hard, and it doesn't have to look like, what all these other businesses are selling or all these other coaches are telling you to do. Because quite honestly, I get very frustrated, and I feel a lot of people get taken advantage of. We hear it all the time. In fact, we had a couple people, email us the other day that, they had hired a big company, and that company took advantage of them, and there was no refunds available. And, they were just going to basically bounce, and that person was left in a worse place when they started working with them. And that was tens of thousands of dollars later. Okay. So these things are happening. And I know we did an episode, I think a couple weeks ago, but we had a terrible situation where we interacted with another coach who claimed to be this amazing, wonderful coach who helps people. And literally, this guy was the biggest jerk on the face of the earth, did not care about his people. In fact, he kind of scoffed at the idea of even helping anyone who had an issue. And this is happening out there. So what you're seeing is not always reality. Again, I think it's important for you to find people that you trust, that actually truly care about helping and giving value, to other people. Again, a big core value of ours is helping people build that type of business that they want to build, right? We're not going to force you into hiring, hundreds of team members and building this crazy business that you're just flying by the seat of your pants the whole time. Because look, I know, again, you can build fantastic things, but you can do it in this manner as well. So some perks and some things that I kind of wanted to go through, right, in this model that we're really honing in on, which is that small and mighty business approach. Some of the perks are, number one, like I mentioned earlier, financial freedom. Okay. And financial freedom from the aspect. In fact, I was reading a book the other day. I think it was like The Millionaire Fastlane or something. And it said, do you know retirement doesn't just mean, okay, you're like in your 60s or 70s and now you're getting money from Social Security and you're, living off your whatever. That's not exactly retirement. If you're making more money than the bills that are coming in and you're making money over top of that, and that's reoccurring and that's money that you can count on, you're retired. You can do that. Okay. So this small, mighty business model translates into that. The other thing is flexibility. So I said before, designing the schedule of your dreams. We have people in our program. In fact, we said, guys, just start taking off Fridays, right? Let's take a look at your week and see how we can really structure it. How can we time block? How can we be strategic with it so that you're still making the same amount of money or you're working towards making more and you're able to work less hours because it's possible, right? A couple of years ago, Scott and I decided, we work 3 days a week and that's it. So we take off Wednesdays and Fridays, and it has been an absolute game changer. Resilience. So having a business that is within your control in this structure allows you to pivot quickly. It allows you to make changes. It allows you to hop on and be resourceful and basically circle around, right? With all the technology updates and AI and everything, it allows you to be really, really streamlined and strategic in that way. Scott?
Yeah. And, there's two other things that really came to mind for me. And I've talked about this on some of my solo episodes in regards to, how to leverage social media, namely LinkedIn. But this also correlates to the way that Nancy and I run our company and our business and how we suggest and want other people to do it as well, which is quality versus quantity. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not talking about the quality of your leads versus the quantity of your leads. I'm talking about now that you're actually growing your business, the quality of your work versus the quantity of your work. So Nancy and I, full transparency, when we first opened the doors to our mastermind 3 years ago, well, number one, we weren't charging enough. And I think we realized that very quickly because we were told by multiple people. But number two, we actually had, I know this sounds weird, we had too many people that joined and it overwhelmed us. But the other thing that we learned from it to really make the experience of joining our program really unique, really diverse, and really value added, we wanted to make it very intimate, very, very meaningful for that person to be a part of it, where we can not worry about the numbers as far as how many people are joining, how much money we're making, because when the impact is felt, that's when the income shows up. And we've now streamlined it where we only allow 10 people at a time to join our program, which we absolutely love because people do meet with us one-on-one. They meet in a group setting, high accountability, but it's really that the quality of the work that we're doing, the response rate that we have to people's problems, the information that we provide for them. And that's what we want for all of you. You may have carrots dangled in front of you where you want to have hundreds and thousands of people in your group program. And like, that's all fine, well, and good. But Nancy will tell you, she was a part of a group mastermind a couple of years ago. There were 130 people in this group mastermind. And well, number one, yeah, that was good as far as a revenue generator for the people that were putting it on. But when you're joining a mastermind, you want to network, you want to connect. And there are people that Nancy didn't even get to meet. She didn't even know because it's too many people. But also when so many people join a program like that are at all different phases of their business, meaning some people are making money, some people are making a little bit of money, some people are making no money. When there's too much of a quantity aspect of the types of people that are joining, it's going to dilute the experience, not just for the people that are making money, but it's going to dilute the experience for people that are making no money. So really focus on everything that you do in your programs, taking it to the 10th degree, having excellence throughout. every single experience that someone has, from the minute they're onboarded onto your program to the minute you get on that first call with them, to the all the information that you're providing. Robin Sharma always talks about this. Everything that you should do should be the first class version of yourself, because that's the experience that you want to leave behind for others. So really focus on the quality of everything that you do over the quantity. Now, the final point that we wanted to make of why it's so impactful to have the business model that we have, which is the small and mighty business model, is sustainable growth. So Nancy alluded to this, that there's a lot of people that come into doing and running a business where they join programs like that we did a few years back, where you almost grow and scale too fast. I know that sounds crazy, but you can grow and scale too quickly where you can't sustain it, because the fact of the matter is the model that Nancy and I have adapted for ourselves and we suggest now for others. Now, you hear me using the word suggest because people don't have to follow our model. We suggest it, and it comes from the Parkinson's law of income, right? So the big thing that we really focus on is the marathon aspect to running a business, not the sprint. And I've used this analogy before. You can take Usain Bolt, who is arguably the greatest short track sprinter in the history of man. I mean, he's broken every record until obviously he retired. But if you put him in a marathon, he will lose every single time, because he is built for speed. He's not built for distance. He's not built for the marathon. And when you're coming into growing a business, you want to have steady, incremental growth, because you'll see these marketing strategies. And I shared this with Nancy the other day. I literally wanted to vomit in my mouth because I saw this LinkedIn influencer, or, that says in 90 days, no lie, 90 days, this company could help you go from zero to $30,000 to $50,000 a month of income in 90 days.
Well, it's like, it depends on your business. It depends on your services. It depends. There's so many
factors. So you want to focus on growing a sustainable business. And why we really believe in this small and mighty business model is because it is sustainable. You don't have to do mass layoffs. Nancy and I, we don't hire employees. We work with contractors. And this is a whole separate episode that we can do, the pros and cons to contractors versus employees. But this is really about focusing on the financial freedom that you can have with the small and mighty business approach, the flexibility, the resiliency, the quality over quantity, the sustainable growth. And again, the Parkinson's law of income, your expenses rise to meet your income. So as you start to grow and scale, and if you're bringing too many people on, again, everything kind of balances itself out. So yeah, you may be making $1 million as a company, but you may be profiting very
it happens all the time. And it actually, Parkinson's law of income is something that's so crazy, like, because it happens in life too. I mean, you think about people who get a raise at work and they're like, oh, all this extra money. And then, oh, well, they end up spending it here. And then there's an extra thing, or they upgrade their car and now that's a bigger expense, and, so on and so forth. So again, when you can run your business and spend the money that's necessary, not over and above in ridiculous amounts like that are unnecessary, but you really keep true to your core and kind of build a business with that core value. So anyway, we've kind of gone on for a while about this and kind of getting around to the point. We are totally supportive. We love businesses out there that are running, authentically, that are truly being successful and doing all the great things. Awesome. But we also wanted to share with all of you guys that are frustrated, right? You're seeing a lot of this stuff and you don't know what's real and what's not. Let me tell you, right? We just talked about it in this episode. A lot of it's not real. Okay. But if you want to build a business, again, like we mentioned, that has all, right, the key things in really having an amazing business, having the financial freedom, the flexibility, the resilience, quality, and sustainable growth. Right? That's what we do. And that's what we teach in our program. So if you guys are interested, again, like Scott said, we've got a workshop coming up at the end of September. We're super excited. We will be opening the doors at the end of the month, right, of September, to our Expert Authority program. And we only have a limited amount of spots. So if you guys are in a situation where you're like, you know what, I have a service-based business. I really want to grow it. I want to be the sought after expert. I really want to hone in on my expertise. I want to build a small and mighty business that really gives you all those wonderful things that you can really build it to whatever size and whatever income that you'd like, but really focuses on making the best decisions when it comes to investing in all the things needed to really run an amazing business.
So as Nancy said, just be on the lookout for the link to sign up for our workshop coming up. But also, if you are interested in taking a look at our group coaching mastermind called Expert Authority, we're going to leave a link in the show notes as well for you guys to check it out. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you